Okay, our next session is Chain Will Keep Us Together, Use of Power Automate to Communicate Approvals of eBooks. And that will be presented by Stephen Walker and Carlos Ruiz from Lehman College Library. Stephen Walker has worked at Lehman College Library of the City University of New York for over 21 years. During that time, he has served as adjunct reference librarian, evening weekend supervisor, and for the past 5 years has been the head of access services. Carlos Ruiz has over 14 years of academic library and 8 years of human resources experience. He has extensive experience with Microsoft Excel via managing large data sets and producing varying reports. Through the move to Microsoft 365, Carlos learned how to encompass its online collaboration tools to better function and coordinate in a new remote environment. All right, Stephen and Carlos, we're looking forward to hear what you have to say.
Thank you. I'm going to start screen sharing right now. Okay. So hi, everyone. My name is Stephen Walker. I'm here with my colleague, Carlos Ruiz, and today we're going to be talking about the use of Power Automate to communicate eBook approvals. We titled this Chain Will Keep Us Together because talking about the chain of communication that this will establish. So we're a part of the City University of New York. City University of New York, as many of you probably know, it connects across all 5 boroughs of the city. And we're located in the northernmost section of the Bronx. And we have 2 other schools in the Bronx. They're community colleges. So we're the senior public institution here representing. And there's currently over 260,000 CUNY students. So Lehman College individually has over 14,000 students, undergraduate and graduate. We also have graduate programs that are dealing with areas of education, social work, nursing, business, and most of our undergraduate students are traditional liberal arts students. So like many of you experienced, we had the pandemic shut us down in the spring. I think our last day in here was about maybe sometime in mid-March. So when that happened, what we basically had to do was we had to do whatever we could to make sure that we had enough access to the students, online stuff and remotely and things like that. So we were able to keep ourselves afloat, but we lost access to our physical textbook collection. So as many of you know, losing access to the physical textbook collection in a school like ours, it meant the students didn't really have access to these physical textbooks for the rest of the spring. So what basically happened was we started to think about what we actually needed to do and what we're going to have to plan for the upcoming fall semester in case there was a situation where we weren't able to open. So what basically happened first was we actually had our head of technical services resign and take a position at another library. So when we started this whole process of campaigning about what we were going to do for purchasing eBooks, we lost a key figure and a key person here. So beginning our plans, we had to work around that, what we could do and couldn't do without having that person. So what we did was we started to work together and we started an active messaging campaign to the faculty about what we were planning on doing in case we didn't open for the fall. So in with that was a lot of messaging talking about, in case we can't open, we're going to start a call for eBooks. We wanted to make sure and explain to faculty members that, we've never done a massive eBook purchasing like this before, and that we're going to try our best to, purchase as many eBooks as we can for the students. We also had to explain to the faculty that basically, we were limited in what we could purchase, as many of you probably know. Faculty members and students would go online and they would look at Amazon and they would say, I see it right here and it's only $15. Why are you having such difficulty purchasing it? Well, as many of you know, we're not able to purchase certain titles. So that's a lot of the explanation that we had to do to the faculty. So that's what we were doing. And basically, what we did for the spring and for the, what we did for the fall and the spring was we were able to receive about $10,000 for eBooks and streaming media. The problem with that is I usually work with a budget around $40,000 to $50,000 for eBooks and for books and streaming media. So when that was happening, we were really kind of shorthanded with things like that. Thankfully, what happened was our chief librarian was able to go back to the college and secure an additional $15,000 to help us get through this process. So what we did during the fall was, within this messaging campaign was, my name and my email address was at the bottom of most of these messages to the faculty. So what basically happened over the summer and into the fall semester, my emails went from about 50 to 75 emails a day to about 150 emails a day. So I was completely flooded with emails, and I was very panicked and very nervous that I would actually miss a lot of the information that was coming in. I didn't want to miss a faculty request. I wanted to make sure that we tried our best to uphold it and try to, get all the purchasing. And so what happened is Carlos said to me, he says, we'll just put everything into a Google Doc. All the emails can be forwarded. Don't worry about it. And that's what we did. So what we did was we had 81 submissions via this Google Doc that came in from individual faculty members. What also happened was we had certain subject librarians in our department reach out to certain departments on campus. And what they started to do is they started to present us with lists. And these were lists of every book that people were using for the semester. So as that does sound like a great idea, what basically happened is we were flooded in our documents when we were looking at it. And we were in a situation where, we had over 736 requests coming in through those lists. Some of them were duplicated, so that's okay. But sifting through a lot of that material was actually problematic. We also had situations that we were sitting there wondering, we had, maybe our first, 15 requests that faculty members put in individually themselves. We wanted to honor those requests because they were the ones that came in first. So we were stuck in a situation where some of those requests were single book users and 3-book users. And ideally, we all wanted to purchase unlimiteds because we have like 14,000 students in our school. But what basically happened it got complicated and it got messy as we went into it. And as you see in the spring, we had 53 submissions via the Google Doc form. What basically happened is we actually put that out to the public this time. So this is an example of the internal form that we were working with here. We updated this information ourselves. It's basic general bibliographic information that pushed into a spreadsheet. Nothing very complicated, but just something that we individually did ourselves. Here's the back end of it and what it basically looks like. I mean, this isn't the total breakdown that we had because it was kind of hard to display on the screen, but it gives you a pretty much brief overview about what basically the back end of this document looked like. The good thing with that is that we were able to realistically look at all of this stuff in a spreadsheet, and that was great. The problematic thing what happened was we had to allow the individual subject librarians to have access to this file. They were at the time requested to also try to come up with additional solutions for ebook requests. So if you wanted a certain title and we weren't able to get it, they were going to go into our existing ebook collection and look through databases for articles to try to supplement that. So we have a dedicated OER librarian, and she had to have access to the file too, because she had to reach out to people and try to get them to convert their class text criteria. So what happened was when more people started to look into this document and they needed additional permissions to make changes on it. So basically our acquisitions people needed to be able to put in the prices of certain books and stuff like that. And so that after a while, that stuff got a little complicated and it got messy at points in time. So basically what you'll see here is you'll see the form that we sent out to the faculty for the spring. The previous fall one had the additional information that you'll see right here. There's a link for OER, a link for existing eBooks. We put our reserve manager's name out there too, just so that my email didn't get completely flooded constantly all the time. And what we did also was we told the individual departments, we're not accepting lists from individual departments anymore, because that was really a lot of information that we had to just break apart and take a look at. So we asked individual departments, if you had requests and you had textbooks, please, we're only going to work off this spring 21 form. So basically what we found for the first year of doing this was submissions going straight into my email. I didn't have more hair than I did last year, but it kind of almost made me more bold because I had just 1,000 emails coming in every day. And like I said before, I was really panicked that I would miss a request and that it was just really complicated to look through. And then submitting all those emails into the internal form, but between me and Carlos, that became troublesome too. And it just became double the work because it was receiving the information in one email and then having to put it out into a different spreadsheet. So it became complicated. For the fall, we were able to purchase 88 titles, though. We spent around $6,000 on that. The fall, we were really purchasing mainly unlimited titles. That's what we really wanted to focus on. But we did honor a lot of those initial requests that came into faculty members. If they only had a one-user book, we did that only at the beginning because we felt we wanted to give them something. We didn't want them to walk away with nothing. And we actually spent a couple of $100 on a couple of 3-user books that came in from the business department, and they only had a couple of submissions. So we kind of felt like we really needed to just give them something to show good faith. For the spring, our requests really went down heavily because we only had 9 ebook titles that we were able to purchase. We think a lot of the purchasing that we did during the fall actually carried over for the spring use, so that was good. But the selection process did become complicated, and after the first semester, we basically, internally as a library department, we basically said, we're going to try our best to purchase unlimiteds. If we can't purchase unlimiteds, then we're going to probably not purchase it and then move along. So I'm just going to turn it over to Carlos right now, and Carlos is going to talk about how he made improvements going along the session with this. And here we go.
Hello, everyone. So for the fall, we were starting to use Office 365 here on campus. So with those tools, we had the Microsoft Office forms, we have the SharePoint and Power Automate. So I was able to go and combine all 3. So we'll take the form data, put it onto a SharePoint list, and to do so, we would use Power Automate. With the form, another good feature about the Microsoft Forms is the ability to make them mobile. So someone on their phone can just fill out the form and submit it directly to us. We also included the department and also the ability to input more than one title at a time. This is the overview of the back end of the form. The Power Automate, where it will take the submission, send it to a SharePoint list, and then also send an email to Stephen, Angelina, and myself to let us know that a new title has been submitted. And this is what the fall 2021 list would look like on the SharePoint. And this is where also our technical services will let us know the prices, and we would select whether we're going to purchase it or not. For the spring, what we did is we stopped making it a semester-based form, but rather an ongoing form, with now the option for just to include semester of what the faculty needed for. When a title comes in, it'll go into a review, and first it'll come to us at Access Services. We will go and take a look to see, do we have the title already? Is it a physical title, an ebook? Do we need to purchase it or not? And then we will also created this list. This one is for everyone to see, and I will go and update this as things come through to let everybody know, all the librarians, that these are the titles that have been requested, whether it's in the collection or not. What's the current status, if it's just been submitted, requested, or if it's been put to search, or if it's been ordered, as well as any links, permalinks that we have for the titles, and the dates that they're ordered. these are the options with Power Automate. I was able to design with the SharePoint list, we'll design the different choices to showcase what the status is of each of the columns. So in Circle it here in Access Services, we will when we receive the request, we search it, we input it there, and then we also would push it to search if it's necessary to see how much things are available. And once we have that information, we would select whether we were going to push it to order or not.
So during the lockdown, during the pandemic, in the past year, a lot of members of Access Services were really the only people in the building. We had technical services people in once in a while, but a lot of us were coming into the building to make scans of our existing textbooks and things like that so that we could upload them to e-reserves. During that time, we were kind of tasked with accepting physical donations. So, you know, we had a lot of important donations that were given to the college. So basically what happened was we were the ones that were basically accepting it on campus. So while that was going on, you know, we had that back room there that I just showed you the picture of, which is almost, you know, in between like 10,000 to 15,000 books. So while that was happening, we also opened the library in the fall. And we had a lot of circulation clerks that were here at the front desk to help with the LibCal booking and to move people from seats to seats. And basically what happened was Carlos was then started to just adopt what he was doing with the ebook list to actually adopt that to be used for the donation file. So what he basically did was we had a couple of circulation clerks here during the daytime and on the weekend. And what he started to do is just experiment with them to have them fill out this information. And so that the subject librarians could actually receive the information that's on the that's in the back room where the donations are. So I'll just turn it back to Carlos right now.
So this is what the form would look like. It's just basic information. The librarian, which is a drop-down list of all the different subject librarians, title, author, edition, year. And when the form is submitted, it will send an email to us here to let us know that it's a new submission has been submitted. This is what it will generally look like. It will just have the librarian's names, the title, the author, edition, and the year. So when it routes to the librarian, it will go and it'll send them an email so that they'll know that title's been sent added to their particular list, because and each librarian will receive their own list. And once a librarian goes in there, they'll be able to see their titles and they can make a decision. The choices will be whether to add to collection, book sale, or discard. And based on their selection, it'll get routed to our acquisitions department to let them know that what action to take with a particular donation. And
so that's basically it. So thank you for your time. And if anybody had any questions, I can see some coming up in the chat, but thanks.
Yes, thank you very much for that presentation. I encountered similar things during the pandemic with eBooks on my end. We have some questions in the Q&A.
Cool.
The first one is, what ebook vendors did you use? We
basically did a lot of our purchasing through Gobi at first. that was basically the majority of it. We've expanded now. I think we're going to other vendors, but it basically all of our purchasing was really through Gobi. Yes.
All right, thank you. Next question. Did you consider using interlibrary loans as an option instead of purchasing eBooks?
As in digital lending? Because we were shut down from receiving physicals, and our campus was shut down too. So I don't think we've experimented with digital lending in CUNY at this point. I know we haven't here at Lehman College. If that's the question, I think that was, yeah. I know we're not digitally lending, so we haven't digitally borrowed yet.
Okay, yes, thanks. And I'm sure if there's any clarification that will come in, and I'll be sure to get that to you. Next question. Since budgeting is always something to think about when to collection development, did you or acquisition librarian, other librarian advocate with the faculty for OER books? Any suggestions on how to have this type of conversation?
We have a dedicated OER librarian here. Her name is Stacy Katz. She did her own outreach to the college. I mean, she was, doing a lot of work with this. And she has been for the past 5 years. So to answer that question, we were able to acquire as much funding as we could. And then her funding would be separate. So I do know that she gets funding from the college for OER, but that would be separate funding. And I don't know what that funding is like, to be honest with you.
All right, thank you. Next question. Did you have prior experience with using / configuring Power Automate with Microsoft Forms before this project? And if not, how easy was it to learn, use, and what documentation training materials did you use?
No, before this, I didn't have any experience with it. It was actually mainly through watching YouTube's videos, and kind of picked up a few things here and there. So how Power Automate could be used to make these functions a lot simpler, reduce the need to go in and send an email and check, is like this done, is that done, but also keep us make sure that we don't miss anything as things come in.
Great, thank you. And finally, where does the form link from on your library website?
The form link? In order to request an ebook from us? Well, we sent them out. We sent them out in a mass email to the faculty, and then there's also forms there under like reserves, and we have things on things like that. So it's under circulation and reserve areas and things like that. If that's the question. The form,
okay.
Faculty resources, yeah, faculty resources also, yeah.
All right, thank you. We still have a couple more questions. Did you suggest faculty to seek out open access sources or depositories such as Internet Archive's books to borrow as alternatives?
Yes, we did that. Yes, and we also had all the librarians in our building on their subject specialties. They reached out to the individual departments. They told them what current options we already had electronically, how they could supplement their courses. So if a faculty member put a title into our form and we couldn't purchase an ebook for it, the individual subject librarian would take that title and try to find supplemental material that might make that faculty member happy in our existing collection. You want to say?
One of the things we also do when we look up the books is also check Internet Archive to see if it's available there, so we can provide that as an option as well.
Great, thank you. Are you using Power BI, I think that is, for any statistical assessment?
Not at this time, no.
All right. How do you promote OER to your faculty? We're struggling to get faculty to use OER.
We like I said before, we have a dedicated OER librarian, and that's a lot of her role here is to do that. I know as the City University of New York, they're starting to hire more OER people. And it's basically advertised, through email campaigns and the website and, and just word of mouth, I would say. But that's not our idea.
All right, thank you. I'm not seeing any more questions. We have 4 more minutes before we're scheduled to break for lunch. So if anyone does have any additional questions, just feel free to drop those in the Q&A. While we're waiting to see if someone does that, I'll just remind everyone that all of today's sessions are being recorded, and those recordings will go out to all attendees after the conference, usually within a couple of weeks. Also, the presentation slides will be shared on our website, sunyla.org. So no need to worry about missing something. Also, any Q&A questions that we run out of time to address, we will give those questions to the presenters. And once those presenters answer those questions, we'll share those with attendees after the conference as well. And thank you to both of you once again. That was really great.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. It was fun.